Welcome to Blue Collar Mystics, the under-the-hood approach to the depths of human consciousness. So many mysteries, so little time, so many big words. That's why we aim to take the mystical and make it practical, usable in your everyday life. And you know, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. What happened when you started asking yourself the real questions? Like, who am I? What is this? Is it a hologram? Is this some kind of weird cosmic joke? Hey, these are the questions that we are trying to get to the bottom of as we explore the final rabbit hole together here as Blue Collar Mystics. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to it. Welcome to the stream, Blue Collar Mystics. We're going to get into it tonight. We are live. We're live on YouTube. We're live in our Facebook group. We're live on Rockfin, and we are stoked. We got some awesome shows coming up. I'm really excited. I got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. And first and foremost, you know, we're going to be talking about Magick tonight with the great Joe Rupe. Got him. Check out his website, joerupe.com. He's working on it. He's host of Lighting the Void, Fringe FM. Super duper cool. And we're going to be talking about Magick tonight. He's been teaching Magick. Also, check out our stuff. Link below, bluecollarmystics.org. Pretty much everything is right there. We got a couple of PDFs. We're happy to send you guys some more information on how we operate and what we think is important, what we really like to emphasize as a group, and some of the things that have helped us along the way. So check all that good stuff out. Be sure to go to joerupe.com. You can get the Art of Relaxation absolutely free. We're going to get into this super deep, the history of Magick. And next week, guys, we've got Thomas Gorence once again from Paranoid American.
That's a great song.
Paranoid American. We're going to be going into like Illuminati Kung Fu, like Illuminati, self-defense tactics, stuff like that. He's super excited about it, and he's been putting a lot of really good research and effort into it. It'll be super duper enlightening, you know, and then we've got coming up very soon also an interview with the folks who are producing the show, The Anarchists. That's going to be coming up at the end of the month. So really excited. Got some really cool content out on the way. So be sure to tune in. If you're not already on our email list, go ahead and hop in there. We'll be hollering at you and letting you know all about all that good stuff. Welcome everybody to the podcast. Welcome, James. How you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm always doing good. It's been a hell of a week, and despite some of the obstacles, I've just been really working through the labyrinth, figuring stuff out.
Chapel Perilous strikes again, you know.
Yeah, baby steps, man. I just learned, so I thought that thing I'd go into on Friday, I thought it was a little nurse's picnic. It turns out it's the entire hospital. It's like 900 employees or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it's a great opportunity to touch the people in this local area and keep pushing our mission forward. So super stoked about that, and working on my pitch deck. So that's for same day delivery. That's been really awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see that, man. I can't wait to talk to you actually a little bit more about that. Joe, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, dude, live. It's always a pleasure to have you, man. And I'm really excited to talk about this because I have a lot of questions. And I know you've studied Magick for a long time. That's really the thing, as we had the opportunity to meet and really talk, that's really the thing that really hit your hot button. And you were like, this is my shit. Whereas, for me, I was going into that realm and I kind of got detoured into transurfing, which is, all these systems are the same overall, right? As far as how they work and how they operate. It's just different words and different metaphors and whatever your favorite flavor is. You know, there might be 31 or 64 or who knows however many, but basically we're all talking about the same thing, and that is what magic really is, which is manipulating reality, right? At the end of the day, and influencing reality, however we want to talk about that. But how would you define it, Joe, as far as like magic goes?
Well, I mean, it's been defined as a lot of different things, but I still think we just call it magic because we haven't understood the technology of hermetics yet, right? At one point we did, and then all of the people tried to steal the knowledge and consolidate it into religions and glyphs. But I think at one point we understood hermetic technology, right? But it's really the art of change and transformation, right? So that's all it is. You know, the kind of magic I practice helps you develop your astral body and change yourself. And when you change yourself, you change your reality. So mastering your elements and your makeup and your authenticity and who you are, and learning to come together with that intuition that you keep kicking yourself because you're not listening to, right? That kind of thing. So it's really change is what it is. I mean, it's changing you to a higher genius, so to speak, right? It's been called transcendental magic, ceremonial magic. It's the old school stuff. I love the old school stuff, you know. It's a little spooky to some people, but it's no different than going to a play or church or anything like that, you know.
Well, they say there's nothing new under the sun. You know, that's something I could pull right out of the Bible, for instance. But I mean, the same thing goes true as far as all of these manifestation practices, techniques, technologies, whatever we want to call them. It's really, I think, something that we talked about last week with Thomas was all these symbols and what they mean, and if they sort of have innate meanings within us. And it was kind of his theory, and with some evidence backed that they actually do, that there are these sort of innate symbols that we're exposed to that kind of have maybe even like Pavlovian sort of like influences on us. And that's something I've actually heard you talk about too, where through these magical rituals and these processes, you might not exactly know what you're doing or what you're affecting until you start to actually see something happen, whatever that might be.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, right? So when I got into it, I'm like, why am I doing this stuff? What's the point, right? What's the big secret, you know? So what I've developed over at the new site, you know, which I've taken a hit because I'm kind of moving everything from Patreon and all this other stuff to just one place, right? Is just to do audio guided magical instruction that has path working and stuff in it. But before I do all that, I explain the origins, the questions, the history, why you're doing this ritual, what it's about, the symbols, everything, right? And then I even put like different versions. So if you don't want to say Judeo-Christian stuff, there's Egyptian, there's shamanic, there's, you know, Greek. It's really not about the religion, right? It's about understanding the egregoric energy and where it really comes from and connecting with that energy. And for some reason, when we do that, it lights up, we light ourselves up in the astral realm, you know. And then as we get a deeper understanding, we're not doing the Kung Fu formula anymore. We just know how to do Kung Fu, you see. Yeah. That's kind of how it works. Of course, when people look at like the traditional Golden Dawn stuff, they're like, these books and the Kabbalah, and this is ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous, but there's so much awesome stuff and jewels in there for people that are trying to do astral travel or feel their astral bodies or get out of body or transcendence. There's so many jewels in here. But at the same time, it gets a bad rap because they're, oh man, these are the egotistical magicians. These are the, you know, snooty guys or whatever. And that's because we had a bunch of assholes back in the day keeping all this stuff secret, you know, making books that seemed, you know, magical. But it's really the Fifth Element, the movie The Fifth Element. We all have this in us, you know. And I like the structure of it. And I didn't really start having transcendental experiences until I got into this stuff. I tried pretty much everything. So it's not for everybody, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I had a roommate at the time, and I'm like, how am I going to do this lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of a pentagram too, right? Like that Christian sort of upbringing in the back of my mind was something too where I'm like, ooh, what am I doing? Am I doing something I shouldn't be doing? It's kind of bad, Which I don't know. Maybe that inspired me even more to do it and try it out. But through all the experimenting and kind of like you're talking about, you kind of see what fits for you. You can make your own thing, right? Like you can draw a sigil and do chaos magic and, charge it or whatever it is that you do. You could burn that thing and, but I think ultimately it all comes back to us and trying to understand and basically master the process of what is really already, I think, a pretty natural process. But by understanding that, like the power of our imagination and what manifesting really is, I think a lot of people just want a magic pill where they can just be like, oh, I just want to date this hot lady or whatever. And that's all. And I don't want to have to do anything. I just want a magic pill that I can just swallow. And then all of a sudden, all my dreams will come true. But it doesn't quite work like that. But we could talk a little bit about how to prepare ourselves and how to get to that place. I think it is ultimately very doable, but it's going to take probably a little bit more intention and time and practice than a lot of people really are interested in putting in at first.
Well, yeah, maybe, but most of the stuff that I'm teaching is all beginner stuff because people go past it. They can't wait to get to these higher magical grades, and all of the good stuff is, I think you should spend years and years on all the stuff in the beginning. The Hermeticum Trivium, right? You got alchemy, you got astrology, and you got magic. And those three things have been they've been in our history since the beginning of time, and they've been covered up by religion and hidden in prophetical books like Revelations and stuff. It's all there, man. And you really just have to dedicate like a little bit of time a day. It's just like exercise, right? If you just took 30 minutes a day, do you really want to? I'm telling people, you can become a ghost. Do you realize that, right? Like you have the potential to like leave your body. I'm not talking about lucid dreaming. I'm not talking about remote viewing. I'm talking about peeling yourself out of your body and go and explore your own consciousness. You have the ability to do that. And I don't understand for the life of me when I tell people this, why they're not just, freaking out. And the reason is because they don't believe it or they've never experienced it.
Well, it comes down to vibration, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing is you can only create within the vibration that you are aware of and can create. And this is all thought is vibration. All imagination is vibration. And if you can't put yourself into the vibration through thoughts, through meditation, through all these things, you cannot create what it is. And that's what back to change. Change is creation. It's manipulation of our environment. And I can say all the time, creativity, creating art, it's all magic. And,
creation is essentially love, right? Yeah. Like we're blending the two things together, and this is what we're realizing, especially with the elements. In any magical system, they have the elemental system that you go through. It's in the tarot too. They hide it and everything. It doesn't need to be hidden. We all have this makeup of ourselves. We have thought, we have emotion, we have our desires, right? And then we have our bodies. But these, we tend to look at these things as that they are kind of running the show. These things are running our lives, right? Our emotions are running our lives. Our thoughts are running our lives. Our, dreams are running our lives. Our bodies are running our lives. Money, and it's all imprisoning in us, right? Which is the devil card. But the truth is these things are just tools for you to explore your consciousness. That's all they're here for. And if you sit perfectly still and focus, you'll realize that consciousness is still. It's still, even though everything's moving, right? It's all moving, but consciousness is still. So it's creating and observing all the time, right? And it's just this massive thing, right? And then you're like, oh, hell. So This is all kind of like this weird game. So what's this love thing about? And that's where the mystery is, really, because first you have to have self-love, which we have been trained not to have.
Selfish.
By all means, by all means, don't love yourself. But that's when you start tapping into your creative power. Your body will physically, energetically start vibrating. If you go through this stuff. I mean, you were there, dude, at the event. I did one path working, and this one guy's like, I don't understand. My arm was on my leg, but I scratched my ear. How did I do that? I'm like, you're not just this lump of flesh, dude. I know people talk about it like you are, but you're not. And it's like anything, man. Until you experience it, you don't know. You don't know.
Yep. Yeah, that was incredible, man. So many people had some pretty wild experiences, even if it wasn't something like I got out of my body and I slapped I went and slapped my boss in the face and then came back. It wasn't, but like a lot of people just had like dissociative, things, or maybe like for me, it was kind of like a gap. It almost felt like I was just missing some time, where I don't really know. Maybe I did hop out and come back in, and I don't really, I don't have
the void, man. Yeah. That's what it is, right?
So I'm interested, so we can talk about this too. I think there's probably a lot of use for, let's say, like astral projection, especially if we were to dive back further and further into ancient, time. It's like you're in a cave, let's say, and there's like a bear out there, and you can just pop out and look away.
Well, like he's talking about, James is talking about, when you get to a certain vibration and you start understanding consciousness and you start understanding the will and stuff too. So you mentioned earlier, well, I want to find, I'm going to do this sigil and get this hot chick. Well, what if I told you, if you just like increased your vibration and you got on a certain frequency with yourself, that the perfect chick will just come around right to you and you won't even believe it. Goes for women too. You won't even believe what'll happen when you start stepping into your authentic self, right? And this is the whole Christ story, the Buddha story, and everything. And they show it on the tree of life as Tifereth, right? And then the Jews get all snooty about it. But this symbol and this glyph has a very complicated story. And it's funny that all of these people came from Egypt, right? In the story, right? They came from Egypt, but they don't talk about Egypt. But this thing has been with us since the beginning of time, this little map of conscious exploration.
Yeah. And that's pretty interesting. Like, we were talking about earlier, all these ancient ideas that have been basically passed down, hidden, through an occulted, through these secret mystery schools and stuff like that. It's like the further and further we go back, the more it's the same stuff. Where does this stuff originate from, Joe?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it originates from all the way back to Samaria and before that, right? You can see, if you study just the glyph of the Etz Chaim, or the Tree of Life. I mean, you can study Jewish Kabbalah if you want. It's fascinating, but it's also, once you understand the simplicity of it, you don't have to like keep going and going. And then that glyph, though, has been there since the beginning of time. Right. And it's a part of, you ever seen that symbol of life or the flower of life? It's a part of that too. So, and I'm not saying that the Kabbalah is even necessary or its ultimate reality. What it is an egregoric map of conscious exploration that we've used since the beginning of time. So just that alone and the creative power of all of us is enough. I mean, if we would have used something that looked like the flux capacitor since the beginning of time off Back to the Future, and we had that same glyph, and all of us said, yeah, this is it. This is the map of consciousness or whatever. We would have used it just the same way. The problem is the dogma and, the complication and all this other stuff too. To me, it becomes a problem.
So basically there's just a lot of systems of extracting the same creative force that is within us, and anybody, you don't even need a book. You just got to spend your time exploring the inner world, and you will find the answers you're looking for.
Yeah. I like the structure of it. I like the structure of it myself because it helps me tap into those energies. So like when I'm scrying or something, and let's say that I want to understand the Venus part of me, I can go there. Or I want to understand a certain aspect of myself, I can go there and explore it. And it's mapped out for me. Of course, once you get out of body, I don't think it really matters, right? Unless you want to use that, glyph, because we play around in the astral realm, but in the ancient world, they taught you, even in Egypt, that this place was where all the work began. It wasn't here on the earth. It was when you actually started doing this astral work, whether it's through dream work or out of body stuff. And this is how we started learning about the power of symbol. And then the magicians learned, oh yeah, when these entities come to me, I can trace certain symbols and they react a certain way. So then that's how they started testing spirits and stuff like that. And it all kind of goes in line with the childlike imagination and the creative force of that too, right? Like we're just now starting to discover like our own conscious potential, you know. That's my opinion. I think it's just starting.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I would love to, if I could, show that. I got the glyph that you're talking about. I think it's the one that you've been using. If that's and
well, that's the one that I have on the website. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So so I wanted to pull that up, and if you wouldn't mind, can you talk us through what the symbols mean? Because I'm pretty daft when it comes to like astrology and stuff like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would love to know, like, have like a little overview of. Oh shit! Sorry about that. Let me try that again.
I mean, you don't. So, you can pull it. Did you drop it? You can pull it back up.
I'll pull it back up real quick.
But basically, you got these two pillars, right? This is what all of Western mystery is based on. I don't care if it's Freemasonry. I don't care. It's all based on this, right? So you got these two pillars. They've been called all kinds of names, Yakin, Boaz, whatever. In Egypt, it's like Set, and they have god names for them. And there's stuff that's really complicated. You know, if you want to get into that stuff, we can. But the real point is that we're in between Alpha and Omega. We exist between the space of Alpha and Omega. That's it. Male, female, positive, negative, relativity. That's where we live, right? Or without relativity, there's no existence. And all these glyphs, Malkuth, you see the russet thing down there. That's obviously Earth. Malkuth, that's the dense sphere. That's where we are. The moon, is where you get into the Yetziratic world. That's the astral realm. And then right above that, they call that the Veil of Paraketh, which that means
this one.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, kind of below that is the Veil of Paraketh, right? So
here.
basically, we have to get past the lunar sphere. And if you look into like Jung and anybody that talks about the unconscious, the subconscious, and all of this stuff, that realm is what's keeping us here consciously. But it's also the realm that we can explore ourselves. We can explore our symbols, all the symbols, our dreams, astral travel. But the idea is to move through that realm. And this is what all of our religions are based on in the West, is to move through that realm, which is the mystery, into the solar realm, which is Tiferet, which is your Christ-like force. And I'm only saying that because people understand what that means, right?
Sure.
So once you become a solar being, and it's been called all kinds of stuff, diamond body, rainbow body, solar being, Christ force, it's all there. So once you get to that point, there is no more, theoretically, second death. In other words, we don't keep recycling and forgetting who we are. And, I had deja vu, and that's a past life experience. And we don't do that anymore. Now we're solar beings, and we can travel through light. And we're, they phrase it differently in every different religion. There's no different in the East. In the East, they have the same kind of setup. It's just chakra systems, right?
Right.
But that's the heart center, the solar energy. And then, so what we did as a society, it wasn't like gods came down and said, this is ultimate reality, right? What is he saying? I'm what? I'm 5D'ing so hard, bro. Hell yeah.
I didn't mean to
No, dude, that's funny. That's funny. So what we did as a society, we said, hey, man, this glyph, we can put planets on it. There's different angelical systems for each, Sephirah, which is what the 10 spheres are. It's really complicated, dude. Right.
Right.
But it's cool because once we understand it, there's 32. This is where the degrees of Freemasonry come, by the way. 10 Sephiroth, 22 paths, 32 paths, secret paths to conscious exploration and wisdom, right? The tarot goes on the paths between the Sephiroth, and then the 10 or more paths. It gets dogmatic, right? But my point is the cool part is you can look up Egyptian god systems, Jewish, Christian, whatever, and they all seem to fit on this glyph, right? And if you take the law of correspondence hermetically, that makes it awful convenient for us consciously to use only as a tool. That's the problem, I think, is we get really centered on the idea that this is the real map of the universe, right? And they were back then, but we created this tool. That's the difference. That's what we have
the
to start
territory is
understanding.
not the map. The map's not the territory.
Exactly. It's like someone giving you a flashlight in darkness and going, "Oh, this flashlight is ultimate reality." And it's like, "No, dude, it's a flashlight so we can move in the darkness, right?" But at least we have a little relativity to understand. And so the the Egyptians and all the mystery people, they started understanding, oh, these planets have certain forces that go with them as they explored consciousness and meditated. Oh, they have certain beings that are there. They have certain emotional feelings. There's certain symbols I always see when I go to this place or that place. And then they started realizing, oh, all these forces make us up. And that's where the microcosm and the macrocosm thing came from, or the atom cadmon, right? So we're the small universe inside the bigger universe. So then now we're understanding this fractally, right? We understand what that means. Bigger concepts make us up, and you can look in sacred geometry. It's all there, but most of the work that I'm teaching is right now, it's just getting to that lunar realm and trying to pass through it. We don't need to get lost in all this other stuff. We can explore any of this stuff anytime we want. We can study it. We can look it up on the internet. We can talk about it and intellectualize it. But dude, I want to experience it. I want to see if it's real. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the whole reason why I did the radio show, why I do what I do, is because I wanted to know the truth about it. And the truth about it is it works. Is it ultimate reality? Dude, I would be lying to you if I told you I knew the answer to that question, right?
For sure.
But it works. And even some of these entities that you correspond with, or the elemental the elemental energies themselves will change your life, man. It's like, oh, now I know why I do this thing, or I know why my emotions are this way. It's like, it took me, dude, and I said this at the thing, when we went to, I said, look, dude, I'm a dysfunctional human being. You ever notice that a lot of dysfunctional human beings end up in the occult and magic world, right? You know why? Because our guidance counselor didn't help us very much. Psychology just doesn't work. School didn't work. Society doesn't work. We don't give a shit about any of that stuff. And all of a sudden you put a little magic on it. It says, okay, you're made of 4 elements. Let's simplify this. You need to balance your life and authenticate yourself, and then you can have whatever you want. And you're like, and I can get out of body? Yes. Well, then the hell with all that other stuff. Like, why do I even need it?
Right.
And it simplified my life. You know what I mean? For me. So.
Sure. Yeah. Nobody's perfect. Right. So, one of the things that really spoke to me in David Data's work was talking about, like, he would talk about, like, God, he's so good, dude. He would talk about, like, the broken yogi and how, like, some people, there's 3 sort of different aspects of the spiritual path. People think meditation's going to heal you of everything, but in reality, maybe it does for some people, but not necessarily so. So he would talk about function, flow, and glow. So function meaning, like, how is your day to day? Are you organized? Are you getting things done? Are you functioning in that way? A lot of yogis are broken and they're completely dysfunctional. They're not functional, but their yoga is on point. And so their yoga is like their creative process, whatever that is. It could be writing, it could be actual yoga, it could be meditation, whatever your art, your creative sort of outlet is. And then you've got the glow, which is just the enlightenment aspect, which you could have that and not have the other 2. You could be,
Do you think I got glow? I think I got a little glow.
I think
you're
pretty glowy. You got all the lights off on there and still somehow you're popping through the screen. And, like that's something that he says you can't like earn it. There's no like process for that.
We all have it though.
We all have it. It's just whether or not we've activated it or stepped into it or whatever, that's what I think a lot of people chase enlightenment for that particular thing. Right. And I think, through an entire lifetime, often people will find it, but just breaking those things apart, because you don't have to be some complete perfect human being in order to manifest a good parking spot, right?
No, man, no. And people look at this stuff and they're like, oh, the Sunum Bunum, the Philosopher's Stone, and all this stuff, and the idea to perfection. And it's like, the more you study it, it's like, it's not asking you to become a chiseled brain, body, and emotional person. It's asking you to become authentically you in the most balanced and powerful way you can possibly imagine, and then give life your light and greatness, right? So you glorify whatever created us, whatever you want to call it, by becoming more you, which is essentially the Rocky story. That's what it is.
The hero's journey.
Yeah. So when we're put here, we're taught, and I looked at it in these four elements because I make it real simple. We're taught fear the fire, fear the earth, right? Fear your emotions, fear this, fear that. And then when we get past the fear, it's like, well, how do I balance it? Now I'm afraid of the imbalance, and you keep circling these elements until you start like becoming you, and then you start realizing, oh, this is about self-love. Oh, this is about love. Right. Which after you get around to all the paths and you do the path working, man, you look at it and you go, I don't know why I didn't do this. There's a reason why. You're a puppet. Your unconscious has been ruling you your whole life. When you came to this world as a baby, you were fine. It's when people started saying, no, yes, no, this is this way, that way, whatever, all this other stuff. I'm not saying, people should be babies, but we started, this is what the verse is about, putting away childish things. We started depending on everything outside of us to tell us what's real, right? Instead of projecting our light into what's outside of us.
Yeah, which as much as us as the outside world.
Yeah, which is the whole earth thing, right? So you have to learn the earth element. I live in the world, but I'm not really of the world, even though my body's here, my consciousness is here. So there's things that I have to do, but I can make those things work towards my favor, but I can still keep my spirit up here too. And there's obviously a psychological process that goes on, but what I'm talking about is what James was talking about earlier, the energetic and vibratory process of becoming you. It's not just psychology. It's not just psychology. I know everybody wants to believe that, but I'm telling you, it's not. The metaphysical realm is here, and it's real, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's interesting to talk about that glow. Is I kind of just wherever I go, I'm affecting the world in a way that I can't even imagine it most of the time, and I don't know until people actually tell me what that experience is. And it's just the other day, we had a kind of tragedy, and just me being me in my community. I had no idea how important it was for me to just be there and be me. They all needed it, and I would have never known unless they told me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's just me in that natural state of being who I am on that high vibration, and just creating a wake of like positive high vibration behind me.
Right.
And I never used to do that in my life. I was always kind of an emotional bully before I healed.
Well, you're an emotional bully because you adapted to an environment that made you that way.
Absolutely. And I know that. And I transcended the dark spell. And it's so interesting to me to see how, and I truly believe this now, having transcended it, how much so, I believe that the magic is your imagination and your emotions, the power behind it, and your focus is where that happens. And in most cases, the world has you focusing your magic on yourself. They don't have to do anything. They just have you destroying yourself every moment of the day, and they just wind you up and get you going.
Well, see, we're from like the 70s and 80s. We grew up when all we had was a telly and a phone that, you know, you either had to push the buttons or spin the dial, right? You know,
the phone had a cord.
Yeah, now
they had a leash.
And we were still like inundated with commercials and bad psychology, bad parenting, and bad this and bad that, trying to just find love, comfort, and happiness. That's all we've been seeking our whole life. Love, comfort, happiness, love, comfort, happiness. And everything's like, no, 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 no. In the 80s, right? Now I got 4 screens here and a phone. And that phone goes with me everywhere I go. So what I'm trying to tell people is like, your unconscious is inundated 1,000,000 times more than it was back in the 80s. So if you don't get a hold of yourself, there's things running the show that you don't even know about. You don't. Whenever you hear someone go, I don't know why I keep doing that. Or, I don't know why I do this all the time. Or why do I keep dating this kind of person? Or I don't know, whatever. And then 5 minutes later, they're talking to you like they know everything. And I said, don't you think it's funny that you consciously understand everything, but you don't know why you keep doing the same stuff? It's because we don't understand the unconscious, which is the doorway to the spirit world. It's the thing that's running our bodies when we sleep. It's the thing that keeps us alive. And it's the thing that transcends us. That's the doorway, which is another method I use of like scrying too, when we get into that, where you can kind of trick yourself in a trance-like state to go in there and, you know, mess around with the laboratory a little bit. Maybe move some stuff around, you know.
I mean, it boils down to, you know, do you control thought or does thought control you? And we tend to own these thoughts as if they are us. And, you know, you can control your thoughts. And once you start to control your thoughts, you really understand how much you really are in control of the reality that you're wielding.
Yeah. Yeah. It's trippy. It gets really trippy because that alpha and omega, those 2 pillars that we live in, is basically on and off. It's binary, right? On, off, male, female, which, you know, you can get into the whole sacred sexuality thing if you want. That's there, obviously, but it's male, female, on, off, light, binary, 1s and 0s. You pull that apart, and in that energetic, crazy vibratorial state, that's where we live, right? That's where everything's happening. That's where all that 5D stuff dude was talking about earlier.
Yeah. He ain't really talking about that. He's just pulling our chain.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You got some jokesters on your side. I love it, man.
Dude, yeah. All my friends are hilarious, dude. I mean, yourself included, Joe. I mean,
I have to call you sometimes if I feel like things are getting too serious. I'll just call you on the phone, you know? Yeah.
Dude, I mean, dude, we all got to help each other. We're all just walking each other home, like Ram Dass said. You know, like we got to be there for each other and goof around. You know, I was thinking the other day, you know, I do all this personal development, all this fucking work, you know, and I'm like, how do I want to spend my time? And then the first answer, that's the truth, is I just want to be laughing, like pretty much all the time. Like, I love it, man. It's so fun.
Oh, well, here's something else I want to tell everybody about. That whether you're doing transurfing, magic, whatever you're doing to ascend into your authentic, higher genius self, your awesome Christ little self, right? The hate will come at you from all different angles. The more you are yourself, the more resistance you're going to get. And people look at that like it's terrible. Like, oh, I got shunned this way. I got kicked out of that group. Or, these people don't like me. And this girl hates me. Every time I'm myself, she gets mad. And It's because that once you start increasing your vibration, the other vibrations don't like it. And it's not people. It's not them. The metaphysical realm is all principalities and powers, right? So in this place that I'm telling you, we have to learn to get to and then transcend it. We're all connected, all of us. So like the thoughts that you were talking about, maybe they're not your individual thoughts, but you're connected to those thoughts in this realm somewhere. And it's like that observer creator thing. It's up to you. Do I accept that thought or do I reject that thought? You know? Mm-hmm. So that's all we're doing is individualizing, like, you know, a little plant. That's why we're here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's so. It's funny too. I've thought about this like even as a sketch idea, like just being afraid of having a negative thought, like running around, and because like it's so easy to think like as soon as you have that,
Psychotic
oh
when
no,
thinking
it's a
about it.
negative thought. Oh my God, everybody run. As soon as you have that, you think, oh, I manifested some terrible thing, but it's really not that. I heard somebody talking about like once your thoughts are 51% positive, now you have momentum, right? So it's not that you have to have like this perfect thought life and you can't ever think of anything negative or funny, for Christ's sake. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things that are fun, like I define comedy as tragedy plus tragedy. A lot of people say it's tragedy plus time.
It's the
I think it's
beauty
just
and bittersweetness of tragedy.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely helps if you're not involved, but I mean, if you can laugh at yourself, then that's what it is. It's like
Right.
a weird thing that shouldn't have happened. So it's good to obviously keep your mind in a good place, but I don't know. It's so easy to kind of get into this almost paranoid state of like, oh my God, I had a bad thought.
It's about reaction and observation, right? And a perfect example today, I'm walking the dog, and I got this horrific vision in my imagination of these cops abusing and killing somebody, and I was like, whoa. I was like, and then I asked myself, instead of getting emotional, I was like, why are you thinking about that? And then it just spun into an entire movie premise. And if I would have hated myself for thinking about having a bad thought or thinking bad, imagining things, I would have totally missed the creative angle of what that thought was bringing me. And I was an observer to it. And I got done with the walk. I called Owen right up. I was like, I got another premise. Right.
Well, see that's another thing too. When you learn, like, so you remember Terrence McKenna when he was doing the, DMT, and he was like, don't give in to astonishment. Right. The machine elves were telling him, don't give in to astonishment, while they're showing him all this amazing, crazy shit. Right. And he's like, what are you talking? How do I do that? Same thing when you astral travel. Right. Once you get out of your body, you have to become an observer, right? There's always this dense pull back to the body. You can go back to your body that quick. If you get excited, or if you get in shock, or if you get too emotional, or if you get unbalanced in any way, there's a chance you'll go back. But if you just chill and become the observer, and this is a place, dude, where you can wake up and see the coolest stuff. You can see yourself sleeping. Or you might open your eyes and there's a freaking entity just sitting there looking at you like this, right? And that's the freakiest stuff. But the whole time you're learning to just observe. That's it, right? In this state, you're just observing and you're doing work. And maybe if you don't know what you're dealing with, you trace a little sigil, right? And in the astral realm, it actually shows up and you're like, oh, that's why I was doing that. I was training to do it here. And these entities will respond to it. They'll be like, oh, yeah, it's crazy. And you're like, I don't even know why this is happening. I don't know this thing, but it knows what I'm doing. So these are like egregoric energies that have been around since way before the Egyptian times and stuff. You have to take everything with a grain of salt to discover who you are. I like astral travel and magic both. That's why that's what it's all about, man. Putting it together.
They really are they really are just another aspect of yourself. I mean, you're just exploring. Yeah. You're just exploring the all. And this is like, I really goes into animism. I had some shamanic experiences that completely tied me to the entire universe. And when you really see that it's all just a fraction of yourself, it's so easy to surrender and let the rest of the world just be what it is. It's just all here for your
surrender
experience.
Is the name of the game. All right, so let me go back to the element. Dude, you're right. It's the name of the game. Let me go back to the elements. Okay, first we fear fire. Why do we fear fire? Well, that's my creative force. That's my desire. People get angry with fire. If I play with fire,
passion.
There's passion. There's anger. There's desire. There's on the negative side. There's lust and like it's crazy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take what my parents taught me in society and everything else, and I'm just going to stay safe and stay away from it, right?
Ego.
Right. Your ego's protecting you the whole time, right? Yeah, exactly. But what you should do is once you learn about the element, you study the symbols, you take them in. You could even go as far as invoking Mars or Michael, or say, hey, I don't understand this. There's a higher egregoric energy that does. Show me this, right? And then you start learning, oh, well, what's the balance form of fire? Well, maybe if I just become like the warm campfire, where I'm a creative force and passionate, and I'm the kind of fire that the animals like to come around and get warm, right? Sure, I can set off and pop and create and protect and anytime I want, but I found where the loving fire was. Bing, you mastered the wand, right? It's just like a video game. Now you're on to the next element. You see what I mean? And it's just like the movie The Fifth Element, when all the little stones light up and then the male and female kiss in the middle and they shoot that ultimate light up to take out the energy at the end of the movie. They put the whole damn mystery in that one movie. And it's easy to talk about. Like, we understand it intellectually, but I'm telling you, man, like, you got to experience it. Because we all think we know everything until we get in the astral realm. I promise you. I promise you. Then you know nothing, you know? So, I don't know. I get stoked about this stuff, man. I'm rambling like crazy, so sorry.
But it's awesome.
But you get into the elements too. Each element provides a certain amount of, like, all the steps of alchemy. You know, when you get into sublimation and catharsis, and the fire heats the water, but you need the water to keep the fire from burning everything, and the air feeds. So they all work synergistically, and it comes back down to balance. Right. And so this is why alchemy can be dangerous, because you can burn yourself out with your energy centers and things if you're not really truly practicing.
Exactly. See, and that, dude, so this people understood this, right? The Hermeticists understood this. So they came up with these rituals using these symbols. And we have to understand symbols are just things that we tell our unconscious or use them as tools to help us to dig in really deep.
Map.
Right?
It's the map.
Yeah,
it's part of the map.
It. So we use, like say you didn't want to use pentagrams and you were a Christian. You can do the same ritual and draw crosses and vibrate whatever you want. And it still protects you, like he's talking about. And it's that protective force. And you keep creating that force and you keep doing your grounding rituals, and it keeps, balancing your energy, right? And because you're using these egregoric forces, that's what symbols are, it works. It's just a tool. It's not something to be afraid of. A star is not something to be afraid of. It's something to be used. And I think it's sad that our politicians and the people that created this country understood it. So they're like, oh, I want to take the Martian force of war, and we're going to make a whole building and call it the Pentagon. And this building is going to symbolize war, right? And it symbolizes the fifth sphere of Gabora. And they invoke all that energy. And now we're like the greatest war machine on the earth. Doesn't mean it's evil. It means they understood the childlike energy. You didn't. So they used it and then made you afraid of it. See how that works?
Yeah.
So you don't get to do it, but you can do it. It's basically D&D for flesh bots. Exactly. That's the best quote I've ever seen. That's exactly what it is, man. All your religions, and this is just my opinion. All your religions, all your angelic systems, all your god systems, all your caste systems, all your symbols are everything. They're just tools in the video game of conscious exploration. They're not to be feared.
I feel like almost all religions are just regurgitated Hermeticism. I mean, as you look through them and study them, you find and see the cosmic laws or the natural laws at practice and at play, and it's also they're compartmentalized and fragmented, so as to not let you actually learn the full game. And going back to the alchemy and stuff. And the dangers of those energy centers and not being healed and not working correctly with them, they actually have Kundalini crisis centers, people that blow themselves out completely with their chakras, and they need counseling, and they need help and nurturing to get back in order. And healing's a dangerous thing, especially when you start approaching it from a very unmetered and don't know their own power, or don't know the things you're invoking.
Yeah,
Because ultimately,
that's the thing is like, that's why I don't really go past the beginning stages of balancing, just the balancing and protective rituals and the balancing, the protection stuff. I mean, we are going to get into the elements and we are going to use the tree, but as far as like, going outside of that or you don't have to. My thing is, I just want to help people jumpstart that energetic force so that they can have their first out of body experience. I want people to really understand that you can astral travel if you're questioning, well, it was a dream or I remember it or it was lucid. I don't know. When this happens, you'll know. There's no doubt about it. You will know, right? Like, so like you'll peel yourself out of your body and you'll watch yourself sleep and you will see the physical realm as it is mapped, right? And here's another thing. You can even affect the physical realm, just like Swayze on Ghost. From your gut, you can do it, right? You remember that dude in the train saying, you got to do it from your gut. And he's trying to push the can or whatever.
Yeah.
You can do it. And I don't think that's meant to do any other thing than show you just how dense consciousness can be. It vibrates densely and you start experiencing that. Oh, it vibrates densely. It vibrates, loosely. It vibrates on all these different levels. So I probably sound like I'm on crack right now. I'm just saying, dude, this is my jam, right? Like I love this stuff.
No, dude, I love it, dude. I love hearing it.
hey, I didn't. I've been working with planetary sigils and vibration and frequency for about 15 years.
Right
And
on.
I wasn't on. You could definitely say I was damaged goods or the wounded healer, and
Right.
I wasn't on a path to heal because, quite honestly, I didn't think there was anything to work on. And I'm
Until it
kind of,
shows you all that stuff, huh?
yeah. Well, I'm kind of fortunate. I wasn't looking for my healing, and it hit me like a strike of lightning, and changed me forever, including a realignment. And once the veil was lifted, once the spell broke, I couldn't believe the emotional freedom that I possessed.
All right.
And then the amount, I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do exercises, work on concentration or focus or any of these things. It all just happened. And I know a lot of people are going to have to work towards their healing. And that, for me, like it was an experience that happened immediately and forever changed my perspective that allows me to really say, hey, and those who know me too see the 180 degrees, and all I want to do now is help people get out of their own way. And really, mentalism to me is one of the most important aspects of all of interaction and carrying
That's the
yourself
first
around
hermetic
this
principle,
planet.
right? Like all
Yeah,
is mind, right? All is not brain, but all is consciousness. Like all is
right.
mind, So
And,
like it's, there's some realness to the astrology and the alchemy stuff too, right? I might get into that down the road with like the members and stuff, but people have to know that like I don't approach this from a guru or teacher standpoint. I approach this from like, hey, look, this is what I've learned. This is where I'm at. Y'all want to come with me? Let's try
exploration,
this out.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's working, and then we'll just discuss it. Right. Like, and they do this at the Monroe. See, the reason why I got into this, and I tell everybody this, is I was reading books on Magick, and then I was reading Monroe and William Buellman, and all of their experiences started running into the same things. The only difference is the magicians had tools to counteract the craziness that Monroe was running into. This dude fought beings. He had some crazy experiences. He saw winded up parasites of sexual energy and all kinds of crazy stuff that he had no idea what the hell was going on. He was just observing it and writing it down. But the magicians kind of knew, based on the tools they had, how to handle it. It doesn't mean anything other than that, right? You create a hammer, you punch nails with it. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I love the correspondence stuff too, how it all just comes back to at least similar ideas. We were talking earlier about, you know, how the process kind of unfolds and how attached people can be, you know, and how big of a deal they make it. We could talk a little bit. Somebody said earlier is like, and I loved the response to this too, but somebody said earlier, you know, how do we start practicing magic? And then one of my friends in here, Kevin, he was like, how do we stop practicing magic?
Yeah, that's a good thing. You're always doing it, right? The only difference is a practicing magician becomes aware of it, you know? Maybe you don't say when you go to the gas station, you're like, every time I go to this gas station, they rip me off for 10 cents. Every time I do this, this happens, and it keeps happening in your reality, right? The only difference is like the practicing magician's like, I'm going to nail this gas station every time and get the perfect amount. Like, I'm awesome at pumping gas. And it's not just affirmations. If it's a deep problem in your psyche or in your spiritual thing, you'll deal with it in the astral realm. You'll deal with it through crazy entities. You'll have people in your life making their life a living hell. You'll have daddy and mommy issues come up. You're like, what the hell is going on? And that's what happened with people. Once they started going through the elements, they all started having the same problems in each element, right? Like this stuff was starting to come out. And you realize, oh, it's not people, it's metaphysical. That's it. You know?
Man, I tell you, I have the exact opposite of all of that. It's like the best weather, like the most perfect weather has been following me around for the last 9 months. Wherever I go, awesome. I bring the great weather. I have the parking spots that I want. I go through these processes where I'm not even consciously visualizing the things that I want, but then when they happen, I realize that that's all that I was doing leading up to it. And it's gotten to a part in my process now where that when I find myself trying to force things like the doer in me wants to, I've changed gears and don't do and just let it all happen, and it starts to happen, and it's crazy. And it always goes back down to some of those principles too, and transurfing, which is just some channeled hermeticism. It is putting yourself on that vibration and allowing yourself to sit on that the middle of that pendulum, and not let anything take you in any direction, and just see and give yourself your imagination the fuel that it needs to create what it is that you want. And sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but a lot of the times I really found myself, man, I find myself winning all the time because I don't get in my own way thinking about all the negatives or thinking about
you might have mastered it, you know.
I haven't mastered it, but I'm doing really well with everyday life, you know.
But for me, like, you know, just doing the first meditations when they're like, when you're doing the body awareness stuff, and they're like, don't move, you know, don't scratch your itches, don't just observe. I'm like, why in the fuck am I doing this? This is driving me crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to scratch that itch. I want to wiggle. Don't just observe your thoughts when they go by. You know, it drove me nuts, but I was always jealous of the cat. They could lay on a hardwood floor and just be like, boom, and just kind of relax. It looked like it would just melt into the floor, more relaxed than I've ever been in my life. And I was like, I want to do that. Sure. Well, you know, I got into the Golden Dawn. I picked up Israel Regardie's book, Relax This Way, Relax That Way. And then, it's funny enough, synchronistically enough, you ever notice how a cat relaxes? And I'm like, I'll be damned, right? So everything that I wanted to do in my life, because of the problems I was having, you know, led me to what I'm doing, right? To work through that stuff. And now I have a meditation that says, relax like a cat. There's the beginning one and the advanced one, you know. Most people can't lay their ass on a hardwood floor and just be more relaxed than they've ever been in their life. You just can't do it, but you can do it. You just don't know how to yet, you know?
Yeah. Your mind hasn't allowed you to believe that that's possible. And man, you know, I have a spaceship, and I trick people into meditating all the time.
Is this the spaceship guy? This is the dude you've been telling me about?
Yeah.
And
hell man, I want to do this thing, man.
We're coming down to Florida. We're bringing it, man. And, but you know, I'm definitely working with those planetary energies and those elemental energies, and you know, and I'm making a big joke about it. I don't tell people what I'm doing, and they come in and we make them laugh, and they know it's not a spaceship, and so they're disarmed completely. But what happens is we shut their fucking mind down, and now they can't think, and they surrender, and their heart says, "Hey, where the hell's the mind? What's going on here?" And the kind of heart goes, well, this is what we need since the mind ain't getting in the way right now. And so this is like, people, and we call it a spaceship because you really do go someplace. And
so you're like putting them in a, what do you call it? Like
a chamber.
You know how people take like ibogaine or they'll take ayahuasca, and he's like, "No, dude, just sit right here. You don't have to drink nothing. I'm gonna bust you into this place."
Yeah, no, I mean, cool. In fact, I got this girl that I met the other day, and she was telling me all this crazy stuff about how all these she left, and all these serpents ripped all the flesh off of her body in this experience.
Chicks always have crazy dreams like that. If it's
no,
not
this
serpent,
isn't
it's an octopus.
This is her while she's getting gonged. And she said that they ripped all the flesh off her body, but it was almost like a shamanic dismemberment. And then she realized that they were taking all the parts of her that she didn't want and need, and that they were literally trying to heal the world. Like, she had this crazy metaphysical experience, no drugs,
That's awesome.
Nothing. A lot of time we have people with past life regressions, and they talk to spirits, and we don't tell people any of this stuff. We had this guy, beer drinking redneck, carpenter, come down in our basement, and he came in, and we didn't load the pistol, and he talked to his dead sister in this space, and we have, and so, like, there's so many miracles that happen every day in my life that the sound and the vibration and the resonation and the people and their higher self are actually bringing them to these experiences, and they decide, their heart decides this is what they need. And so,
your chat room's killing me, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think there's like a challenge. Like, can you break us?
Yeah,
like, we're gonna talk about serious metaphysical shit. Can you break us on air? And that's kind of the
dude,
game.
I want to experience this thing. Look, I'm gonna tell you right. The reason why is just because
I know you need it.
Well, I've had lucid experiences, right? I've had, I guess, what some people call astral travel, right? But the local out of body experience where I become a ghost, if I can do that in this ship, I might drop this whole other thing. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I might just build my own ship, right? Because it took me a lot of work to just like watch myself sleep, and I even would mess with my son, and we would do experiments and stuff to make sure that I was like I was really there. But we're humans, man. We're all in the void. If you figured out a shortcut, I got to do this, dude.
Hey, I don't know if it's necessarily a shortcut, because, like, here's the thing, right? I wrote in this thing 500 times, and if I needed if I was tired, it woke me up. If I was sleepy, or if I was, worn down, it would wake me up. It would do whatever I needed to do. Give my back for the pressure, all this, that, the other thing. Thousands and thousands of people go in there and tell me all kinds of crazy shit, and they would come out and be like, "Man, how do I get that?" Right? And then 15 years later, I ride on the resurrection day during the solstice, and I have a shamanic dismemberment, right? But I've ridden that thing probably 50 times since that day, and I haven't had a similar experience. So I really believe that there is a planetary hour and a planetary time, and there's coordinates that are going with transits. There's all kinds of stuff that I haven't even learned how to map yet that are bringing me, that are bringing. Because I know, like, having not ridden it 500 times, and then the day that I go in on the grand conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter and 600 years, and on the resurrection day, all of a sudden magic happens for me. So I know that to that, there's a certain degree. There are coordinates, there are times, there are all kinds of things where, man, the right time for you and your chart might not be for 5 years from now. And I don't even know if we're going to be available to make that day,
That's another part of it. Is like I was telling you about the Hermetic Trivium, right? Like, each one of these things, whether it's astrology, alchemy, or magic, are densely like things. They're massive fields of study, and just experiencing astrological energy, whether it's planetary, and most people experience planetary energy. You're right, by invoking it or being a part of it or looking at the hours, and that's the only way we know it works. It's not like we discovered that oh, look, there's these waves and they belong to Saturn, right? We discovered this because we would map the stars, right? And every time we mapped the stars, certain things would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And over thousands and thousands of years, we're like, look, this stuff keeps happening when these planets are here in this sign. And oh, well, this is like this big creative wheel thing. Now we can actually experience it even more. But when you study that stuff, it's like the weather's easy. Is it going to rain today or is it going to be sunny? You know, when you get into astrological weather, that's a whole other thing. But if you get into it, you can make it work to your benefit too. You can just kind of get into certain energies you want to, and you can kind of slip out of certain energies you don't want to deal with if you're, you know, into that kind of thing. I'm not a master astrologer by no means, but it's pretty cool.
Neither am I, but I have been really studying it more. And what I realized is, so like, say you come into my spaceship and we open up on a Friday night, right? When we open at midnight on Friday, it's really Saturday. Well, that's the first hour. That's the Saturn hour and the Saturn day. And where is Saturn? Where is Saturn transiting? What is it interacting with? How does that interfere and interact with your chart? And so, you know, people have come out having very similar experiences that I've had. And you know, and there's 10 other people in there with them who all have a greatly different experience. But you had that one person that was like, ding, I just found spirit, right? And a telephone booth to God, so to speak. And I really think it has a lot to do with their timing and their transits in their chart, and where we are, you know, geographically and time wise. So, you know, but these are all hypotheses. Until I get a master astrologer to start charting some of these transits and doing some more experiments, it's just, you know, speculation of sorts.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend like starting with the planetary stuff. That's the easiest way to get into it. Like they got apps now, you know, planetary hours, whatever. You put your location in, it tells you, okay, this is the planetary hour, whatever. And just like observe, you know, what happens during these hours. The way I was taught though, in the beginning, like the only thing that we observed was the lunar phases, the sun and the moon. Just focus on that for like a year. And then once you understand the cycling of the sun and the moon and your chart and stuff, and you start to see what happens, then you can kind of get into the other stuff. But I mean, maybe that's old school. Maybe we're like ready, you know, to just, I mean, we got apps that tell us what's going on now, you know, when they were.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can chart it.
Yeah,
for sure. You can easily chart it. You don't have to be a master astrologer, but you have to understand what each of those transits mean. And you know, that's where, you know, the planets are all actors and they're going through all the different roles, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, once you understand a lot of that stuff, but you know, it's a lot to take in, and and again, you know, it's speculation, but I do know that some magic happens in there a lot, and you know, it's hard to tell why it doesn't happen to you, but it'll happen to somebody next to you, and you know, they get a resonation and things like that. But also too is I've been working with a bunch of the planets. And the latest thing is I want to just work with the 7 original planets.
Yeah, the 7 original.
So I'm going to drop Neptune and I'm going to drop Uranus and bring in Mars and Saturn. And then I'll have the 7 that you can see with the naked eye. And that was part of the ancient astrology. And start working, you know, paying more attention to those things. But, you know, I'm kind of getting off a track myself.
That's interesting stuff, man. It's fun to talk about, you know. It's interesting stuff.
It is,
you know,
part of
so
it.
Elementally, like when you look at things in the elements, it gets kind of, you know, the elements are boring because there's only 4 of them, and then you got the 5th one, which is spirit and love. It's kind of boring, but I promise you, like I made this real simple with the astrology that I do. I can pull up your like elemental reading, sidereal, tropical, whatever. And then I will find the one, like your thing that you need to break through, right? And because that works for me. The one thing is like, oh, you know, I'm good at this and good at that. It's like, yeah, but this is what you need to do to grow, right? You've got a short spot here. So go out next week and do this thing. And it's like, well, no, that's uncomfortable. I don't know. I'm scared of that. And say, that's now you understand your chart. Now you understand your elemental makeup. Now you understand how to grow, right? It's like, but I don't want to do that. It's like, but you know, you have to, right? It's like, yeah, I've always had problems doing that. Okay. Well, do you want to do this, right? Or do you not want to do it? There's
Get
a
out there
difference
and
there.
fight, Arjuna. You don't have a fucking choice.
Yeah. Like, look, man, in life, if you want to go just to life and not conscious exploration, all we want is genuine love, comfort, and care, right? Genuine love, comfort, care, and happiness. And then along that ride, if we can experience some cool shit, that would be great. And it's incredible, like, how hard we've made it for ourselves to do that. You know, how hard we've made that. And it's not hard at all. If you just like you can break it down to 4. But now there's articles and everything, you know, there's like, oh, you're this category, or you might be a covert narcissist, or you might be this, or you might be that, or maybe you got a lump in your leg. And it's like, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You know, that's the society that I think we're in now. Everybody's trying to find an answer on the internet, right? And an article somewhere.
You got to look inside.
Yeah,
Well, the 4 elements, I know fire is like desire and will.
it's a creative force. Yeah.
Water is emotion.
Emotions and symbols.
And what are the
and on
other?
the unconscious. That's
Okay.
yeah.
And then there's earth. And what is that
Physical
kind of
body, abundance, nature. Yeah.
and air.
Air. Yeah. Air is
like-
the mental realm. Air is like thoughts, communications. It's also where the healing is. It's kind of like the initiative around the circle, but it's in the east in this system that I use. But yeah, it's really just air, right? Thoughts, you know. And if the Buddhist is thoughts, communication, wisdom, knowledge. So the way I do it in the path working is I have people imagine like Raphael, but with an emotionless face, like giving you all this mysterious knowledge. You've heard the meditation, right?
Mhm.
And it works. But if you want to go the Buddhist route, you can say, well, air blows the tree. You know, the higher up the tree, the crazier it blows. So if you get caught in your mind, you need to ground yourself. So go back down the tree and see that the roots in the middle of the tree aren't moving. They're pretty still. But the higher you get in your mind, the more unbalanced the tree waves. You know, you can do the Buddhist route if you want to, but I like the magical one because I'm more of a D&D flesh bot.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we were talking about David Data earlier. You know, you don't even have to run your chart if you don't want to. I think it's amazing that you could do that, but just what are you fucking scared of? Because that's what you need to do. That's the thing that
Right.
like pushes you to your purpose, and not like a deathly fear. You know, it's got to be something that you want to do, but there's resistance there. There's something that's keeping you from doing that. But that's a really great way to find your next move. And when he's talking about finding your deepest purpose, he's talking about, facing your fear and like layers of an onion, again and again and again and again, and digging deeper and deeper and deeper into your deepest purpose by following that trail of what does frighten you, having that courage and being able to just push through it, even though it sucks. Like sometimes I do not want to go on stage and talk about my genitalia in front of an entire room of people, sometimes.
But yeah, do you fear vulnerability?
Yeah.
Of course you do, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
once you pass through that fear, and that's like going through the water thing, like once you pass that fear and you can become vulnerable and open, you'll start getting what you really desire in life more, which is love and connection and understanding, right? And you get more love, more connection, less, isolation and feeling crazy, right? But it's scary to open up, right? It's scary to say that because you've been unbalanced in a way. A lot of times they've taught you to be too alpha or too this, or I need to be this way for people to love me. I need to be that way for people. I need to be this way to be attractive. And I need to do this and all this shit, when really you just need to be yourself. And what will connect and love you will connect and love you, right? And so we've shut off our vulnerability. So people fear water. And in the neophyte ritual, right, every time you're getting in your line and getting in line with the circumambulating force of creation, which is a golden spiral. So when you see dudes in capes like walking in a circle, they're like, look at them crazy some bitches. What they're actually doing is symbolizing circumambulation, the Fibonacci spiral, right?
Oh, okay.
The light. And each time you go around, the guy will come out with the banner and he'll be like, I'm fear. Remember, fear is a fetter that binds. I will keep you trapped. I'll keep you just
From
frozen.
growing.
Like
Right.
you're not
You
going to
won't
grow.
Yeah.
I'm the thing that stifles you, So we all fear something about each element. And then as we go through it, we we start to learn to balance it. And then, there's supposedly a whole alchemical process to get into that solar energy and becoming this really badass light being that never loses its consciousness again and can love like no other sumbitch in the
We just
world.
become the next sun to shine on the next civilization.
Because deep down, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting too. It's like a lot of people fight and resist these things, and these things they're afraid of. But what they don't really, what they're not attuned with, is the fact that you are it. You are everything. And if you didn't choose these sets of resistance, you would just be everything. All points.
You wouldn't grow through it. Right? You wouldn't grow through it and experience it.
Yeah, it would just be the thing. That's it, right? And so you chose to experience the universe from this one point of awareness. And that one point of awareness comes with a lot of baggage, because if you've already saved every princess and killed every fucking dragon and went on every adventure, and you knew the outcome of everything, it's all pretty goddamn fucking boring. So
it sounds like we're playing Mario Brothers, right?
Yeah, and
like we can warp through to level 4 and get to 8 if we want to,
But the all forgot itself to marvel at what you've created and what you can.
Yeah, and essentially, that's the story of the Lamb, right? In Revelations, when they talk about, oh, it's Jesus and the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and they do all this dogma stuff. But the reason why they make it a big mystery is because the divine thing is what you're talking about, the sacrifice of consciousness into you. And then once you regain that consciousness and the land flattens out and every eye shall see God and all this other stuff, once you regain that consciousness back, then holy is the Lamb, holy is the sacrifice, holy is everything. Jesus, right? You're the Son of God. It's like, oh, he just said he's Jesus. And I'm saying, Jesus said you were Jesus. He told you were him.
Hey man,
he didn't say make a religion out of me.
I see a miracle in everything, including a turd. It's all everything. It's all spirit.
That's alchemy, dude. That's I'm serious. That's a part of alchemy. Transforming energy, intake, outtake. Right. That's it. Charge, discharge.
Yeah, man, it's a miraculous little game, and the more that you start to look at it like one and start to play by some of these goddamn rules, you actually can start manifesting some pretty fucking cool shit. And
that's we live here, and there are laws, and you got to poop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
everybody poops, man.
But our fear is not that law, and that's what people get caught up in. Those are the resistances of feeling like they're not good enough, or for me, it's like I had no business, quote unquote, starting to write a screenplay. I just did. Right?
Do it, man.
And no fear, and that's you end up with a final product and things, and so it's the not knowing. And the reason why you came here is to not know that actually gets in the way of you not living your purpose, right? And so it's literally counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Step into it. Step into the fear, step into the pain. You will fucking find it. You will find what you keep looking for. It's not in the other direction, and it's not in safety, and it's not in the bedroom, and it's not in the dark room. It's out there where it's scary.
It's like Captain Ron says, anything's going to happen. It's going to happen out there, right? Yeah. That's the way you got to look at it. It's an adventure, man.
It is. And once you kind of get into that place where you can kind of break through and see everything as a miracle, now how much gratitude do you have for literally everything? And that gratitude just keeps bumping you up and up and up and up, to the point where, like that's why you vibrate so high, I think, James, right? Like, cause you're in that space.
Yeah.
And so
he sees it.
Here you are. And then you start getting even more, stuff, whatever you want to call it, as a result of that, because you're focused on that miracle and giving a lot of appreciation for it. Like gratitude, there's no balancing force for that. Gratitude is pure love, man. There's no negative swing of the pendulum when you really truly appreciate something. There's no negative consequence of it. It's just going to help you. And nobody complains their way to the top. It's something I've said probably hundreds of times by now, but that's the same idea. Like in order to grow, gratitude is the attitude that promotes that growth. And you going through and you're like, fuck, this sucks. This is uncomfortable. I'm bombing on stage and everybody's seeing me or whatever it is. If you can keep that positive attitude and just keep going, it's not, man, it ain't far away. Like I'm seeing So
2
many
feet from
things
gold.
happen. Yep.
Here's
exactly.
the thing, though, right? The reason, one of the other reasons why I got into magic, right? Because at the beginning, people would, we would get in these vibrations, but also the cavemen would draw bisons on the cave wall, and the next day one pops out, looks just like the one they drew, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here, right? So we've been playing with consciousness since the beginning in this way. But what you'll start to notice is you'll pick your vibration up, and then regardless, you might think you're amazing, but you're still surrounded by a bunch of amazing people that are creators just like you.
Yeah.
That could be lost, they could be at your level or whatever, right? They could be at your frequency. Now you take your light and your vibration and you throw yourself into a crowd of these people. I promise you, if you stay in that crowd long enough, your vibration's going to get fucked with. It's going to get messed with. Things are going to happen. No matter how much light you're pumping out, these people are going to affect you, right? Vibration, it's just the way it works. It's hermetic law. So this is why people that start to get on a higher vibration, when they get around, let's just say 2 negative people, they're like, yeah, man, they tell you a few positive things. All right, buddy, I gotta go. Right? Yeah, gotta check out. Right?
Actually, that's not true. I step into some of that discomfort when somebody's negative.
You might, but most people that start getting into this high vibration, though, they don't want it to go away. And when they get around negative people, it's fine. They can just chill with them for a little bit, try to put some positive energy in there and get out. When you get around 3,000 negative people, the internet and all this other shit, your vibration starts to get affected. So there are methods to take care of yourself, take care of your vibration, right? Keep it sacred, do stuff to make sure that it's still there.
Well, it's protection.
Don't run from negativity all the time, because the point is if you're a high vibratory being, you can heal and help an individual. You will run it. I guarantee it. You'll run into somebody that needs your help. And this story ain't all about you, even though your story is awesome. Their story's awesome too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
They need you at the time.
They do. And that's the thing when people get into the purpose of life and stuff, it really is to prop each other up and to help
I need
them
it sometimes.
become who they
We
are.
all do.
We all do. Yeah.
But my point is, if I throw you into this crazy realm of just crazy stuff, it's cool. Every day we're naturally ritualistic beings to begin with, and there's a reason for that. And I believe it's because we've taught ourselves how to stay. We naturally do it to stay balanced, vibratorily, physically, elementally, but we're not being trained to do that anymore, right? So you could do something to love yourself, and the internet's going to say, oh, what's wrong with you? Or your parents are going to be like, oh, that's messed up. Your buddies are going to say, well, why do you do that? Or you're just going to run into people that look at you funny. Or you just need to be yourself and do your rituals, however you do them, to take care of your vibration every day.
Hey,
otherwise, it's going to
rituals,
dip and go up and dip. And then people are going to be like, hey, man, you're bipolar. Now you got another problem,
Hey, what are your elemental rituals? What do you do? How are you practicing elemental rituals?
Well, so the way the system is structured is you don't start like invoking elements. The first thing you do is you set up a protective space, that ritualistic protective space that I'm telling you about, to always keep your vibration balanced, positive, whatever. You do it every day, right? That's the pentagram ritual. Then there's the middle pillar ritual, which is basically the middle pillar of the grounding ritual of the aura. So you're taking care of your vibratory space and you're taking care of your aura. Every day you do this, right? It's kind of like recharging the battery. Every day I'm just going to do this. No big deal. But while you're doing that and you're invoking these archangels, these massive egregores that have been around since the beginning of time, these egregores are balancing the energies that they represent or govern. Now, you don't have to do like angels. You can make your own ritual, but once you understand the fundamental of it, you'll get it, right? And you can make your own thing. But the idea was to teach the student, this is the original teachings, how to do that first. Relax, focus, protect, balance. Relax, focus, protect, balance. And it's boring as shit. Right? After a while, it gets boring as shit. Then, okay, they're ready. Next thing, you go to a certain element. Relax, focus, protect, balance, invoke fire, invoke fire, invoke fire. Right? So now you're invoking the forces of fire, and all of the, if you're working that element, and all these forces come to you and they show you how awesome you are at certain things and where you suck at certain things and shit that you really need to work out to help love yourself better and love others better. And sometimes it's a bastard, but once you master it, you start, it's like that freedom you're talking about. Money, it's not even, this kind of freedom isn't, money couldn't buy it. Money can't buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why you run into these people, they just don't understand the mindset of how can you live this free? It don't make sense. I'm out of the program, right? I'm not doing it. I'm trying to help you here. And then, but you have to help, you have to help yourself, right? So you go back, and once you master that, you invoke another one. And let's say you go to the water and then you do the focus, relaxation, balance, and invocation. The next thing you know, all of your mommy issues that you didn't deal with are starting to come out and all kinds of stuff. And now you understand why all those girls broke up with you, or now you understand why you do certain things when you drink this liquid or whatever. Like you start understanding where your pain is, and now you know how to love yourself and you love others. See, I told you I was dysfunctional. I couldn't read a book and understand this. And people could tell me, you got this problem. And I'd say, I know I have this problem. I need to fix it. But it wasn't until I ritualized myself to bury myself into the unconscious and open that door that it started to heal. Right. And you got to do it in a balanced way too, because if you don't, and you, let's say one day you have a Kundalini experience and you're all cattywampus, emotionally, intellectually, or whatever, you might end up in a straitjacket. It's happened before.
It has happened. There's no doubt.
And that's another alchemical thing about this whole thing is once you become that solid, balanced elemental being, you can invoke Kundalini all day long, baby. And that gets into that, the sexual forces, the alpha and omega that make up everything, the massively creative force of love that's in everything, and why this stuff has been hidden, I don't know. I guess they thought we were stupid. But whatever,
because they don't want you to realize it. And if you realize you're not controllable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing is people, for me, I nobody's my master, right? I'll choose my own death over being controlled, right? And
give me liberty or give me death.
But that's the thing is I'm not afraid of dying. And the fact that I'm not afraid of death stops their ability to rule me with fear. And that's
the Christ story.
But that's what the DVOC 19 or the COVID, it's like the news tells you you're going to be scared, and so you should be scared, right? And I'm sorry, I'm not scared, and since I'm not afraid of dying, I don't need to do X, Y, and Z because your fear does not bother me.
James is such a rebel. I love this dude.
I know, right?
I know you guys would get along. Listen, I'm the same way. I lived in Arkansas for 38 years. That's habit. I was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I was comfortable. And then when they came out with this COVID thing, they said, "Don't travel, don't do this, don't do that." For some reason, my soul was like, "I think I'm gonna move to New York." I'm gonna drive to New York. And then I got to New York and it was real bad. Don't travel, don't do this, don't da da. So I think I'm gonna go to Arizona. And all I did was see people wearing masks and scared shitless the whole time, but we're still buying gum and candy and life's still going on. So I don't understand what's going on. People are getting sick or sicker. Okay. It's a cold where people die more because the cold's more powerful. Whatever. You ain't trapping me with it.
Yeah.
Like you ain't gonna make me stay in my basement and go, oh shit, they got a cold out there. It's killing way more people than the other colds do. I better not live.
6 million ways to die. Choose fucking one, man. And this is the thing, is that shit hit, right? And everybody has this pandemonium around me. And so I'm like, oh my God, my friend got me worked up. And then we're 3 days in of moving the weapons, moving the food. And then I looked at my roommate. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing right now? I was like, when was the last time I listened to the news? What the hell? Who listens to the news? I said, stop listening to the news after 9/11. And so when I realized that they just caught me in a little loop of fear, I was like, anything on fucking the news is about selling shit, man. It's not truth. Journalism is printing things that people don't want you to know. Everything else is is a PR campaign. They're trying to control us. And so, man, turn it
I'm
off.
dysfunctional, so I have to do rituals every day to get that shit out of my unconscious. That's what I'm saying. Like I can tell myself I'm in control of it, but I also tell myself a lot of things that I keep doing the same shit. Right. So like, so these rituals kind of like help me, that's my point. Everybody has their own system. So like, if you want to get out of your body and become a ghost, I can help you. If you want to learn how to balance yourself, this way, I can help you. I'm only doing it in the mind though. If you choose to take those things and do your own rituals, that's fine, but you don't have to. Your mind's powerful enough. You can do them in your head. So if you're trapped on a plane, you're like, well, where am I going to get up and do my little Dungeons and Dragon pentagram ritual? You don't have to, man. You have a mind temple, dude.
You have
a place where you can do it every time, That's what I'm doing.
That's good. Yeah. It's good to have something like that, like some sort of grounding thing. Like for me, I do morning pages every day. That's something that's super helpful for me. Like I sit down on my desk and I just write I just get all the toxic goop out. And that really seems to help me. And then I do my gratitude practice. And then I'm like, all right, cool. So now I'm in a place where I can really nurture a good state of mind. And, and then I try and surround myself with people like you guys and the folks in the chat, who are going to encourage me, who are going to have, positive feedback and all that. So it's like, dude, CNN, you can't scare me. I was fucking watching Alex Jones in 2012. Okay. So like, what do you got? So, I mean, I was nervous too when it first kind of happened, but being in the law of environment, like Napoleon Hill talks about, and putting yourself in a position to constantly be able to grow, to embrace gratitude, be around people who get it and who are going to help you, and be a good influence. Like that's just smart. That's just good, personal, like protection and
that's it.
Yeah. And just do
you remember the guy Bill Cooper that had that radio show?
Oh yeah,
The Mystery.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And he wrote Beyond. Was that something about a pale horse? I forget the name. Behold the pale horse.
Yeah.
This dude had the opposite effect on me, and he did that radio show to scare the shit out of everybody and talk about the rising sun and the Egyptian mysteries and everything. And he's like, they want to trap you. There. My soul was like, this sounds cool. I'm gonna go learn this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go learn what these Egyptians were talking about. Like, I don't think Christ would be scared of it, so why should I be? And Bill Cooper would be like, they just don't want you to know, folks. Don't play the game. But what he was trying to teach people is like, well, this is where everything's coming from. But he would even admit it. He said, I don't know why they're calling Lucifer the morning star and Jesus calls himself the morning star. There's the theory that they're the same being, but kind of like flip-floppy, and maybe it's true, but I just don't believe it, folks. He had an art of being cool to scare people with the mysteries, but it worked backwards on me. I was like, I got to go learn all this stuff.
So funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's right. Like when you grow up and you have a perception of magic, you think it's like swords and sorcerers and Harry Potter and shit, and then you realize that alchemy and the search for gold and magic is all within you. And it's about bringing you and your consciousness to a realization and to a point where you can create in the created world. And,
exactly, man. And this is where like alchemy used to baffle me, because they had the puffers, the laboratory alchemy, which worked, Paracelsus stuff. The actual laboratory alchemy works, we know that. And they had mental alchemy, Jungian alchemy, spiritual alchemy. And I'm like, why is there so many different alchemies? And then when I started practicing magic, a dude that was in the order that I joined when I started this, he said, no, there's a hidden energetic secret in alchemy, that there's an actual physical energetic transmutation that happens in your body and in your soul and all this stuff that you go through. I'm like, nah, that's bullshit. Sounds too Star Wars to me. I don't believe it, until I started vibrating. And then I'm like, why the hell am I vibrating? Why the hell am I coming out of my body, man? Like, what's going on, And that's yeah, it's all fucking awesome. Is what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
they've been lying to us for a long time and hiding all this stuff, man.
And that's why I tell people to stop wielding their magic on themselves and fucking point it outward. And, you know, and then like worry and anxiety. Anxiety is the big thing in society now. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, you mean you have a human condition like that everybody's got? And then it's there to help
you. Mean you're alive? What are you talking
exactly.
about?
But
Well,
anxiety,
I've had panic attacks, dude, and they're crazy, right? But I think this might have been why I got into like, yeah, I mean,
it's looking
true.
ahead. It's your mind not being in control of your mind and looking ahead and dealing with things in your mind that haven't happened.
Exactly. But
And
the
so
first time someone has a panic attack and their body goes out of control, they don't know that because it comes from their unconscious. They're sitting there breathing, going, why am I feel like I'm having a heart attack? Why is my arm going numb? Why is my face turning green? Like, what's going on? Am I dying? And they don't understand that this seed in their unconscious that needs healing has caused this worry to go out of control and become irrational. And they're trying to they can't help but focus on that worry. I had what is it called? Agoraphoria or whatever, where I couldn't even, agora, whatever they called it. I couldn't even leave the house, dude, when I was like 22. I would have a panic attack if I drove 5 miles down the road, you know. I was all
hey man, I'm glad to see that you've taken magic and healed yourself and are able to share it with the world.
Yeah, if somebody told me, yeah, you're gonna get in your car and go to New York, I'd have been like, bullshit. I ain't doing that. I can't even make it to the mailbox, dude. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
And that goes to the same thing for trauma too, or remember in the past. Is if you're dealing with, and if you're not right here, right now, and you're dealing with something that's already happened, whatever hurt you 10 years ago or the beginning of your life, they hurt you once and you hurt yourself over and over and over and over and over.
That's right.
Reliving it and resisting the feelings. And it's the same thing with the future. Instead of just saying, oh man, what are the worst possible scenarios? Oh shit, I could die. All right, well, let's move on. Right. And then you actually address these things. And it's always the resistance of actually exploring what it is that you're feeling and dealing with and making you right here, putting yourself right here, right now. And this is why I preach mentalism so much, because once you can get to the point where you're aware of what's going on inside of you and then bring yourself to a point of homeostasis or relaxation or whatever, and then you can start to get control over this amazing technology that we possess.
Yeah.
I mean, we are the spaceship. We are the universe is inside of us.
That's what David Bowie said.
That's right.
David Bowie's got a whole song about Golden Dawn magic. I'll send it to you. He actually talks about all of it in one of his songs.
Which song?
It's the one where he's talking about in Malkuth, and he talks about becoming the rising sun of the Golden Dawn. That's why he made that last album called Starman, because Corbin Dallas is the black star. It's an alchemical thing. Dude, I'll send you the whole thing. You'll love
Corbin Dallas, isn't that
that's in the Fifth Element.
Cool, dude.
Yeah, David Bowie was practicing Golden Dawn magic, and he put the whole thing in a song, and people didn't even notice it until after he was dead, you know.
Well, the truth is always there.
Yeah. And I really this is the first time I've ever done this stuff. So I really appreciate you letting me come on and talk about it and try to promote it a little bit.
It's awesome. I've
been scared of doing this for 10 years, and I'm
step into it. That's awesome. Yeah. Dude, I'm really happy to hear about it, man. That's good that you're teaching these basic, fundamental, elementary entry points, because there's no skipping. You have to deal with the internal state before you can do anything.
It's funny too. There's a quote in the book, The Kabbalistic Tarot, that I read by Robert Wang. He said, people will do anything to not deal with themselves. They'll practice yoga. They'll jump out of planes. They'll do anything, right? Anything to not deal with themselves, you know? So we do all kinds of stuff, and we think I know what you're talking about. We do all kinds of things,
too,
but
bro. I'll start fucking dusting the cabinets. I'm supposed to be writing right now. I'm supposed to be writing, and this is my writing time. Wow, that looks really. I gotta cut the grass. You know what I mean?
Because are you kind of afraid of your own deepest desire and success? Probably.
It's weird.
You're kind of afraid of it.
It's true. There is that. Yeah, but I also am starting to see how not that far away it is. You know, it's like you start out on something and it seems like so distant, but
It's
then
not, though.
you get like closer and closer. I mean, not even, you know, a few years, and then you're like, holy shit, like everything that I thought was this massive barrier is not really that. I'm one like step away from, you know, from other people who have gone on to do exactly what it was that, you know, the goal for this endeavor was, or what have you. So you're closer than you think is probably always.
Well, didn't you, when you started doing comedy, right? Did you ever imagine that you would do a show with like anywhere around Sam Tripoli or any of those people?
I
Like,
mean,
didn't you? That's kind of a manifestation right there.
Dude, it was a total manifestation. Like, honest to God, it really was. Like, I was on my way there, and I probably should have sharpened up and stuff too. But I had 5 minutes in my pocket. You know what I mean? Like, I was ready to host. And so I watched the first show, hung out, and then talked to him, and he was like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh, you know, we don't have a host for the next show. Do you want to host it?
There you go, man. That's awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. So it's like little things like that too. And I also knew just about like the whole like idea of importance, right? Like if I push it, it's a fine balance, right? It's like if I push it and try to like make it happen and make a thing out of it, then I'm going to get in my own way and just completely sabotage it. But if I can approach it in the proper way and then just, you know, make a suggestion, no attachment one way or the other. And I didn't even have to say anything. It was offered before I could. But I mean, either way you slice it, like it was that emotional state that made that whole thing happen. Like I knew I was very conscious
gave it a little
about
focus, a little energy dust, and then you're like, all right, man, whatever. Let's see what happens. You know,
that's right.
It's the only thing you can do, really.
It is all you can do, and that's part of the fun part too. Like James is talking about, he's like, I'm not visualizing and shit. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just walking into it, and I know the universe knows what it is that I want, what it is that I need. My subconscious is just kind of doing this stuff. It's sort of automatically falling into the place. It's that perfect balance between yin and yang. It's like you have to distance yourself from the yang. We yang everything to death. We're yanging it. You know, action, very Western. But you have to learn how to.
You have to learn how to let things come to you.
Yeah.
Completely. I'm so action. And the more that I disengage from that tendency, the more positive results that I actually get. And it's like, it's literally that excessive potential just melting away. And you know, and I've seen lots of situations where I've caught myself in the last couple of months where I'm just trying to knock everything over with my dick, right? This is like gonna just build this and make this and form this.
Oh,
and then the next
knocking everything over with your dick right now. It looks like.
Take it easy.
But you know, it's just that creative force energy. But
fire energy. You got a lot of fire in you, brother. That's good.
The moment I catch myself doing that and just tone it down a minute, man, the universe just meets me right there. It's like, oh, now you get it. Here's a reward. And, you know, it's like, man, the more that I just operate from the outer intention and from knowing my purpose is really just to brighten everybody's lives and help them be free. The more that I just follow that and just show that, the more everybody's like, here you go. Right this way, Mr.
Back to ebb and flow, too, of hermetics, right?
Yeah.
You know, ebb and flow, letting things cycle, learning how to cycle. I didn't understand that until, you know, I was telling you about the lunar energies in the beginning. Which is the only time I ever cared about manifesting anything, just as an experiment. And sometimes I would be like you, man. I want it now. This is what I want. This is what I desire. I need to have it right now, you know. And the magical universe is like, you know, give it a menstrual cycle. Let it happen. You know?
Totally.
28 days later, there it is. And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that.
Exactly.
You know? I didn't even want it. And then
now I don't.
Now I get it. Right.
That's so it. Yeah. One of the things that I've done, and I highly recommend this to anybody, is to find some sort of activity that you get so engaged with. It could be anything. It could be running, it could be gardening, whatever.
Driving.
And just do that. Yeah, driving, whatever. But just something where it's like with James's spaceship. It's kind of a forced meditation, right? Like I go out on the river and do rafting. and we better make it down this class 4 because if I'm not paying attention.
How forced is it? Is it like rape meditation almost, where you're like?
Actually, we hold you at gunpoint. And we send people out of the street. We grab.
If you have one thought.
Yeah. Like, get in there and meditate, you motherfucker. I don't want to see those eyes.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a bit about that. Like, about taking people hostage to meditate. It sounds horrible.
Oh, dude.
You're like, fucking, you get in there and meditate now. We're going to kill your firstborn.
Oh, God, Jesus. Gun to the head. But it kind of is, you know, like if it's sailing.
Some people need that, man. Some people need to be pushed a little.
You know, it's like you are putting yourself in a position where you can't have that chatter in the back of your mind. You know, I get obsessive about a project, and so I have to completely disengage from it and do something else where it's not in my mind. It can't be in my mind. I'm totally present right now because I have to be. Otherwise, this old granny is going to flip over in this rapid or whatever, you know, and like I definitely don't want that. So it forces me to be like, all right, cool. I'm here. I'm in this moment, and during that length of time, be it 6 hours or whatever, I'm completely disengaged from whatever it is. And then when I check my email, I'm like, oh, somebody got back to me about a show that I was trying to book or whatever. You will start to notice, like a boomerang, it doesn't come back though until you let it go. You know, you fling it out there. You do, right? And then you fling it out there, and then you're like, you forget about it, like just like what you said, Joe. And then when it comes back, you're like, oh yeah, I totally already forgot about that.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. And, you know, so, you know, like once we get past that, if even on the member side, we're going to get into the elements, and we're going to do stuff on the tree and the path workings. And if you're into like active imagination and really being led through like a journey like that, God gave me a voice, and that's about all he gave me. So I'm trying to learn how to use it. Right. So, I'll do those path workings and stuff too, but I'm all down for this spaceship, man. Like I want to sit in it.
We're coming in November, man.
We got to do an event out here on the beach. I guarantee you, all these people on Daytona Beach, they'll flock to this thing, man.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've definitely done it on the beach before. Tourists on the beach are hit or miss. But like a farmer's market, everybody will pile up.
The farmer's market.
It's different. It's like different, you know. But here's the thing: is, you know, no matter where we go, most people have never seen it before, and it's still so foreign to them that, you know, it's weird. And that's why the spaceship metaphor came into play. Because if I was sitting there saying, "Hey, here's my yogi meditation stuff, hop into my temple and pet this rock and light this flame and drink this water and pray to this God," people would be like, "I'm fucking out of here." But instead,
you are the spaceship, man.
Yeah. Hey, hop on my spaceship. You're like, "Hey, I know this ain't a spaceship, and I know this fucking freak knows this ain't a spaceship, but it looks cool. I'll check it out." And then you come out and you realize that it was a metaphor, but that shit's real. You go someplace, and that's where you're forced to surrender, and that's where the magic comes in for me. As most people aren't set in an environment where it's the sound and the vibration is permeating you so much that you don't have a thought. And if you could just surrender to that engulfing womb of cacophony,
fire energy going
sound,
on in the chat.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can close that mind off. And what happens really is, I'm not going to fix you permanently, but you understand in that moment of what it meant to shut your mind down and have that state or that travel that you had, and then like, oh shit, I guess meditation could do something for me.
Why they call you Admiral Hits with the Z?
So honestly, it's a really good story. I hired these really awesome burner kids, and I was high and tight with a haircut, wearing my Adidas gear, and these kids all gave themselves names and made themselves costumes. And one day I'm introducing them. It's around dark, and I'm like, "Hey, this is the Commander Meander, and this is Lowrider, and this is the Disco Shaman, and I'm Jay." And I immediately became the least coolest person of my own creation. And so I got on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, man, I'm like, these kids fucking chose all these really awesome names and costumes. I was like, I'm now irrelevant in my own thing. Like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to call myself? What am I going to do? And so we came up with Hits. And so the Admiral came in because people would call me Captain. And in my mind, I'm building a fucking fleet. I'm the Admiral. I'm building a fleet of these things. We're going to have them all around the world. And I'm the Admiral of that fleet. Captain's below my pay grade. Captain's below my pay grade. That's one of my trusted confidants and representatives, ambassadors. So yeah, I'm the Admiral because at one point I had enough gongs for 3 spaceships, and I decommissioned 2 of those spaceships, and now we're going full throttle.
Are you a Leo?
Yeah,
I figured.
Double Leo, actually. You
got a lot of that going on
with a Gemini moon, man. So
shit.
I'm all over the place. I got 40 fucking projects all at once. But yeah, so actually, I'm just at the tail end of 2 long-term visions, and I just started another one, and now I'm really learning a lot of ins and outs of some of these things that I'm trying to do. And
when are y'all coming down, man? Like when?
The end of October.
All right.
I'm in California right now, so I'm preparing for Burning Man, and I got a gig the other day, gonging a gong in a hospital. The whole hospital is having like a employee picnic, and they got word that I was in town and really wanted me to come down and share it. So I'm really excited about that too. It's we're tapping into a whole new market with our nonprofit, and I started like seeing after we put 500,000 people through this thing, a spaceship, and I've seen so many miracles over the years. So the last few years, we've been like, how do we give this to people who really need it and shut their mind down? And so now we have a new mission, and it's to provide these stress reduction services to veterans and first responders and medical professionals, because these people are just out there serving, and they're giving their all and going through a lot of shit to do it. And whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, they still need that help. And and we're going to want to give them the opportunity to shut their minds off and find their magic within. And so that's the latest thing. And the more that I talk about this, the more, I just made a little Facebook post and told people about it. And I've been getting phone calls. How can I help? How can I give you labor? How can I give you money? What can we do? And it's like, all right, I got to get some executive coaching now, because I have no idea how to delegate all the positive labor that people want to throw my way. And so, yeah, it's, I forced myself. It was actually source, creative spirit, my higher self, whatever, caught me in a moment where I wasn't thinking and hit me with the entire plan. And I forced myself to go out and file for the nonprofit. So there was no turning back. And man, I definitely.
Nonprofit's pretty cool. That's pretty rad. Man.
Hey, if somebody could wants to give, and I want them to have the benefit of being tax deductible, and it ain't going to be that hard. I feel, the nurses have been going through a lot of shit with COVID, and a lot of them are losing their minds. It's a hard environment to work in. We have had a constant war going on at 9/11 with first responders dealing with all these fires and hurricanes and all this shit that's going on. People are seeing some horrific shit, man. And I got a lot of friends out here who have dealt with wildfires continuously, and they've lost their families and homes, and people have told me how important it is to them that they're helping the people that help them, and they were trying to provide that freedom. So I'm just beside myself and excited about the new direction, because really I want one of these things in every state, every country, and I want people to have access to it, because I can't tell you the amazing benefits you're going to get. You have to shut your mind down and let your heart go to work, and has nothing to do with me. I'm just making some racket.
Well, man, I'm happy to come on and make racket with you guys on the show too. So thanks for letting me come on, brother.
Dude, thanks for being here. Yeah, if you guys haven't already, go over to Instagram and follow the Sonic Portal. You can also jump into our Telegram chat, our Facebook group. All that stuff is bluecollarmystics.org. Joe is getting ready to release this audio. I guess you got like a series of stuff here. Joe.
Yeah, I already got some stuff out. The official launch date's on the 5th, but I already have some stuff out. You know, I'm an Aries. I just shotgun stuff and then try to put it together afterwards. You know,
Well,
so
it looks great, man. I mean, it looks awesome. And if you guys go to joerupe.com, right? That's you can hop on. You can grab the Art of Relaxation for free, and he'll let you know when the thing. If there's something that isn't out yet and you want it, then he'll let you know.
It's coming. All of it's coming, right?
Yeah,
I'm downloading that right now.
Yeah, dude.
It's all coming in audio form, basically. So you're going to have to like follow the sound of my voice and listen to everything I'm describing. But we still do the, you know, the breathing and the relaxing, the focusing stuff too, you know, so.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah.
But I mean, you know, you don't have to read a big fat book if you just want to learn some basic stuff when Magick, and my whole purpose of it is transcendental. Of course, manifestation happens. That's another thing, but transcendental and vibratory, you know, try to get you to that astral vibratory level where you can have out of body experiences too, you know.
What was the website again?
It's
joerupe.com.
Is that RUPE?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Had a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed working with you out in at the Grimerica retreat. And this year we're going to be back there, guys. So they just announced Greg Carlwood, right? And there could be other people coming. So if you're wanting to go to that, you're going to want to take action pretty quick because it's going to definitely fill up and sell out. So check that out as well. Check out joerupe.com. Check out Lighting the Void on Fringe FM as well. Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out. Melissa, Kevin, Stardust Simulation, Will. Let's see, who else? I'm just trying to shout out a few people. Diana, thank you guys so very much for hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate it. Ben, Honey, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're listening to this as a replay, come hang out with us live. It's a lot of fun. The chat is lively and always very funny. So if you don't have a sense of humor, don't come. But if you do, yeah. But if you do, come hang out with us because we like to have a good time. We appreciate it. We got lots of great episodes coming up. Once again, just a reminder, next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll have Paranoid American Thomas Gorence on for some Illuminati self-defense. We're going to talk about neurolinguistic programming, anchors, what all these things are, as well as some other things. Whatever he's got, we're going to be in for it. And then at the end of the month, we all already are really excited to talk to the producers of the HBO show, The Anarchists. So that's coming up. Really excited about all that. I'm coming to Florida, Joe. I can't wait to see you and hang out.
Definitely
It's going to be wild, I'm telling you.
Yeah, we're going to have a blast, folks. So if you're not already on the mailing list, hop on there. If you're not on Joe's, hop on his. And we will be chatting with you shortly. Thank you so much for being a part of the stream tonight, everybody. Much love, many blessings, and we'll see you next time.